Hey guys, Joachim here. Did you know that the strongest medicine in the history of science are found in plants and they have a name? In this video I'm going to show you exactly how you can maximize the medicine in plants and save hundreds of dollars if not thousands of dollars in lost income from work due to illnesses such as colds, cases of flu, chronic pain, infections and what have you. But more importantly, it's going to increase your health greatly, I can assure you that. Plus, the chance of getting diseases are gonna drop, and if you're fighting a disease right now, my god, this is a must. It's going to help increase your chances of fighting that disease, as the overwhelming scientific evidence shows. So the first question I asked myself a long time ago when I first heard this was, what's the elements in plants that heal diseases? The scientific term of these elements are called phytochemicals or phytonutrients. The more I learned about these elements, my next question popped up, of course. How can I maximize the intake, thus maximize my health? Now the best thing about this is there's no side effects like our Western medicine. Yet this is far more powerful. You gotta remember that. Which means you can eat a whole lot of these elements without worrying about side effects or toxicity, etc. It's cheap, it's easy to use, it's easy to make. You can do it anywhere on this planet, regardless the climate. So without further ado, let's jump right into it, shall we? Now, before we start, I just wanted to give you a quick background so you get a sense of the origin of the medicine in the food. Alright? Now, back in the beginning of time, planet Earth was covered with water. There was no land, only under the water. The sun throws off from solar storms protons every single day. They move so rapidly that they turn into light hundreds and hundreds of millions of years ago, as the very first life form was microscopic algae. Green algae, blue-green algae. And what that did is capture the energy from the sun and gave birth to other life forms. What then occurred is that the very first land popped up out of the water, and that's called Australia. The bottom of that ocean started to come up and hit that land and create the very first beaches of the planet Earth. So these invisible algae had already spawned what we today call sea vegetables. So now, besides the microscopic algae, that is the original life form, we have sea algae. And that sand now is getting the invisible algae to move back and forth. And what was born out of that is grass. So algae is a single cell life form which doesn't absorb deadly chemicals as fat does. The origin of all life has everything in it that will ever come after it. What creates life has a little bit of everything, including you, that came after it. Blue-green algae and green algae not only has every existing element that will be in every living thing thereafter, but it has a wide variety of nutrients that are at the top, the highest amino acid profile, protein, the highest mineral profile, the highest essential fat profile, that instantaneously puts these essential fats into the brain. The same brain structure that your brain is made of, by the way. All of these algae are loaded with phytonutrients, the medicine. The second algae are sea vegetables, but they are grown at the bottom of the ocean. Now what makes them interesting is that they amplifies the energy, because when sunlight hits the water, it does something called refract. Refract means one ray of sun may now turn into thousands of subrays. And so when these foods at the bottom of the ocean, these algae are growing, they amplify the nutrient benefit and have an electromagnetic frequency that's unique to sea and freshwater plants. Sea vegetables has the most minerals than any other food on the planet Earth. They do not pick up radioactivity unless you pour it on them. Algae, you better get them into your life. It's a fantastic food. Make sure they are clean, they are grown organically, not harvested near contaminated areas such as Fukushima. I mean, look at this profile. Look at the protein. Look at the nutrients. Look at the phytochemicals, the medicine, the oxygen, the hormones, the enzymes. I can't stress that out enough, how important this food is. So make sure you take green algae and blue-green algae on a regular basis. And sea vegetables, the same goes there. It's the highest mineral food on planet Earth. Same applies with the importance of getting clean, organically grown sea vegetables. The grass and their very close sister brother called sprouts. This is the origin of all plants on the earth, on the soil. Coming from a microscopic algae, it eventually became a redwood tree and eventually became you. Sprouts have the highest source of protein, enzymes, vitamins, essential fats, minerals, phytonutrients on land-based foods, and they help alkalize the body. Sprouts also help nourish healthy gut bacteria. Sprouts have the lowest calories of all foods, meaning that you can eat huge loads of that and still lose weight. Sprouts are the best plants you can eat above sea level. The most studied anti-cancer substance ever discovered in plants is called sulforaphane from broccoli. But if you take broccoli seed and sprout it, you now have 50 times higher amount of sulforaphane. Think about that, that's huge. Garlic sprouts and cabbage sprouts are, from what I've heard, although there aren't the same amount of scientific data backing this up, just as good as broccoli sprouts. So this should give you some idea of how extremely powerful and nutritious these foods really are. And my God, if you're battling deadly diseases like cancer, you better start implementing these foods seriously. If doctors knew this, they would put you on this living plant-based diet immediately, instead of recommending ice cream, bread, pasta and all that garbage to quote-unquote cope with the treatment. So at the beginning, when I told you that the strongest medicine ever discovered by science is called phytonutrients or phytochemicals, now you're starting to get a grip on how extremely powerful they are. These are the foods that build muscles, make cells strong, circulate the blood, make every organ in the body, which is made of cells and tissues, get stronger, make the skeletal structure stronger, and ultimately the most important, have these magic healing factors that nature and the universe put in there called phytochemicals. Sprouts are the best plants you could possibly eat above sea. So when we're talking about sprouts, we must mention wheatgrass. Wheatgrass mimics and replicates hemoglobin in your blood. Not literally, but virtually. You're adding up your body with more blood by taking the chlorophyll in this condensed form. 2 ounces, it's about 60 milliliters, of wheatgrass equals 5 pounds, that is 2.2 kilogram of fresh organic green vegetables. Powerful anti-disease, anti-aging medicines in wheatgrass. It has more protein per calorie than steaks, twice the amount of vitamin A than carrots, more vitamin C than oranges. It contains 96 out of 115 nutrients from the elemental table. Nothing comes close to that, at least that I'm aware of. I suggest that you start with 1 ounce and build 1 ounce a day and build up that level. If you want more videos like this, hit that subscribe button. Now the next superfood that you better eat every day or every other day is beans. Let's talk about beans for a second, shall we? If you eat beans twice a week, you reduce your risk of getting colon cancer by 50%. Think about that. IP5 is a compound in beans that will not allow tumors to grow. Beans are high in proteins. Actually, should be one of our main sources. And they are high in carbohydrates, good carbohydrates. They digest very slowly and thus prevent you from overeating. Beans have something called phytoacid. It's an anti-cancer compound. They are full of polyphenols, flavonoids. The more and longer you eat beans, the body builds up the bacteria it takes to digest them. So 2 tablespoons beans a day equals 8% reduction in death. Very high amount of fiber, slowly digestible starch and resistant starch. Now, I want to talk about the starch for a second here. Slow digestible starches break down the glucose very slowly and feed carbohydrate into your body to burn it for energy as opposed to storing it. Because it doesn't raise an insulin response and it keeps the glucagon working so you can still burn fat at the same time you're burning the carbohydrates from beans. So you're gonna lose weight, keep your glucose levels favorable, help reverse your diabetes, and is full of something called resistant starch, which is almost like a fiber, but we don't have the enzyme to digest the resistant starch. And we convert that resistant starch into a fat, as a short chain fat, predominant called butyrate. And some of it gets absorbed, which has anti-diabetic effects and immune protective effects as well. Well, butyrate has an anti-inflammatory effect of the wall of the colon, preventing inflammation, reducing risk of getting hemorrhoids and constipation. The bacteria slow the absorption of glucose from the foods that are not beans. The second meal, scientists call it, bacteria is gonna slow the glucose uptake. Because insulin is a cancer-promoting hormone as well as dementia and depression, IGF-1 is a growth hormone which ages the brain. So beans are loaded with phytonutrients as well. You can eat them cooked. Even better, you can sprout them. you can't eat them raw, you gotta sprout them or you gotta cook them.